Hello, welcome back to the Great Takes and Great Lakes podcast, episode 3 here, joined by yet two more new people. We have David and Isaac. I'll let them give themselves a little intro in a second here. But we are all Lions fans here today, and I thought we'd talk about the Lions and their draft strategy a bit more with coming back down to almost 2 weeks to the draft. I think we're at what? We're recording this Wednesday evening, so I believe we are 15 days out from the draft. So with the Lions being one of two teams with two first round selections, they are a pretty important team in terms of the grand scheme of the draft. So ready to see how that rolls out. But gentlemen, introduce yourselves.
I'm David. I'm sitting in between two Wolverines here. I'm a Michigan State guy, I guess, give my background a little bit. I don't go to Michigan State, but I support them. Detroit Mercy Titan, Antoine Davis coming off the roster this year, which is a little sad. But I'm true and true Detroit sports, whether it be Lions, Pistons, Tigers, Red Wings, DCFC, you name it. Um, Yeah, so I'm excited to get into it. I've done podcasts before, and I kind of I guess I have my own podcast. I haven't recorded on it in a while, but I'm excited to do my first one that involves sports. And my boy Blake, we go back a while, so thanks for having me. I'll let Isaac take it over and introduce himself.
Absolutely.
Yes, that was a great introduction, David. Hi, everyone. I am Isaac, the other Wolverine on the podcast, and um, I would say that the Lions, for me, come second to Michigan football. But I would still say that I'm a pretty big fan, although David will call me a fake Lions fan.
He
Um,
became a bigger fan over the years,
yeah, I would say I became
more
a bigger fan
recently,
over the years.
which is
But
fine.
I mean, when you have a team that has such a deep championship pedigree, such as the Wolverines, it's
Yeah,
hard to grow up not rooting for them as your primary
championship
team.
in quotations.
No, there's no quotations. So yeah. Uh, I'm excited. I mean, Blake's building something really awesome here. He's pumping out an insane amount of content and it's really high quality. So we're excited to just chat and uh
Kick
it's
back
really
and yeah.
it's really just an extension of our conversation. I mean, this is just a formality. This is the kind of stuff that we do on the regular all the time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we shoot the shit all the time.
In the
Love
So,
group,
sports.
yeah, in our group chat, they were going after it after the Jeff Okuda thing. I wasn't on my phone because I was busy at the moment, but yeah, it was going nuts. I was like, gentlemen,
Why don't we open it up with that? Let's open it up with
yeah,
Okuda.
yeah,
Start us off,
exactly.
Blake. What were your thoughts on the trade?
well,
So
how about you
initially,
give your initial thoughts and then why don't you give after the dust settled what you thought?
Yeah,
yes,
your thoughts on him, your thoughts on the trade, just as a whole.
yeah. I mean, I'll start off with my first little introduction, my about me and the Lions. I've kind of
Yeah.
been open about this before in the past that I was raised to be a Lions hater by my grandfather, my mother. They both hated the Lions, and it was my grandpa would always joke it's a good weekend in the state of Michigan football if Michigan wins, Ohio State, Michigan State, Notre Dame, and the Lions all lose. That's a perfect weekend in my grandfather's books. But when I went to college, I was the only kid from Michigan, actually one other kid from Michigan at the school. So the first weekend we were there, our second weekend, it was the Quinn Trisha era. It was a Monday Night Football game against the Patriots, and we beat their ass. And I was just giving it to some of my New England roommates, and I kind of got bullied into being a Lions fan for a bit there, but now it's paying dividends. So I haven't been a Lions fan for that long. So when they drafted Okuda, I was a relatively new Lions fan. And my first thing I said immediately is, as a Michigan football fan, if I don't know who you are on Michigan, if I don't hear your name 100 times and you're playing Michigan and beating our ass, you're not good. And Okuda was a victim. Sorry, he was a beneficiary of playing with two Bosa's and Chase Young. Okay, if you have that many good pass rushers on your team, you're going to be a good corner because you only got to guard a guy for 2 seconds. All right. With how good he is at running backwards, we saw those combine drills where he could open his hips up and sprint full speed backwards pretty much. He had no problem. I mean, I feel like I could be a pretty good corner on Ohio State with those offensive lines, defensive lines. So I wasn't very high on him the whole time. Obviously, he came into a pretty tough situation. Being a corner on a bad team is really hard to be good. You see a lot of these guys are victims of their circumstance, and obviously coming in to a really highly drafted team with the Lions, it's tough. Like if you're drafted by the Lions as a corner now, you're loving it because it's a better defense, but it was just tough. And then obviously he got injured. And when he was gone, there was some players that made a lot of strides that were, undrafted free agents or like late round picks. And, he came back and was pretty underwhelming last year. And now he's, I thought it was more of a symbolic trade than I think it was anything else. I mean, they signed a ton of corners. We got 3 corners / secondary guys, and then trade him away for a 5th round pick to a team that was maybe thinking of taking a corner in the Falcons. So once the dust settled, I mean, obviously I didn't really care it was a 5th round pick. I thought it was more symbolic that it's Brad Holmes being like, hey, the 3 first round picks that they traded, they drafted, all gone. So that was my initial thoughts. What were your guys' thoughts?
I'm gonna chime in by saying, first off, I think Okudah was drafted into a really tough. It was right during COVID. He didn't have OTAs, barely had a training camp, and then obviously he ran into the injury as well early on in his career. And I don't think he ever was a bad, like terrible player. I think he had some missed coverages and he didn't look great. But also, I don't think Bob Quinn and Matt Patricia should have drafted him that high either. They were on the hot seat. They knew we have to win now, and cornerback was one of the biggest holes on the team. They were going to take Okudah regardless because they were going to get fired if they didn't. I mean, they were going to get fired regardless. They should have got fired before that draft, I think. But I think it was just a full implosion sort of thing where Okudah shouldn't have been drafted that high, and he got drafted into a tough situation. And moving on to the trade aspect, I did like the trade. I thought a 5th round was about what you'd get for a guy like Okudah being the Lions. And I think that everyone is crediting Brad Holmes, which, yeah, he deserves a ton of credit for his offseason. But I think that Aaron Glenn, Dan Campbell, and Dre Bly, who's the cornerbacks coach, really have a plan for what they want this secondary to be. It's going to get addressed in the draft. I have no question about that. And I think that Okudah was just not a long-term solution. We weren't going to re-sign him. And it's nothing against him as a player or that. It's just kind of like a business move. And the Lions are a team that is having that paradigm shift. They're not doing things impulsively anymore. It's strictly a business move. And it's the first time in, as I remember being a Lions fan, and a lot of people say decades. I can't say decades because I've only really remember watching the Lions for the last 12 years of my life, maybe 15, but I don't really count that. But yeah, it was just strictly a good business decision for the Lions moving forward, and I think that it's gonna work out just fine, in my opinion. I'm not stressed out about it like some other people are.
I mean, if you look at the return at its face value, what's a 5th round pick, right? Most teams,
Yeah.
a 5th round pick is a throwaway. And not to hold him to this expectation because of last year, but like Brad Holmes obviously has shown the ability to get guys late in the draft. So I'm not saying it's like some crazy asset, but it's not a throwaway to Brad Holmes. Like he'll use a 5th round pick and probably turn it into like either a solid role guy or potentially like a low end starter.
Or trade up with it.
I
Use
think,
trade
yeah.
leverage. It's an extra pick you have in this draft.
Exactly.
What do we have as total picks now? This is like our 9th or 10th pick. Eighth or 9th?
So yeah,
They
you
have
got
2 firsts, 2 seconds, and then now they got what? Do they have
Yeah.
2 fifths or I think they're missing one
This
pick.
was we
Correct.
were missing a 5th.
Yeah.
No, so there was no 4th round
Or
pick.
I would
So
say
sixth.
they were missing
Fourth.
4th. Yeah.
you have 2 6ths, 2 5ths, 1 3rd, and then 2 seconds, 2 firsts. So I mean, you could easily do one of your seconds in a 5th round pick and move up.
And we haven't even mentioned you clear 11 million in cap space. They
Correct.
absorbed
Yeah.
all of his cap, which is, I mean, for a
think-
5th round pick, it makes even more sense that they dished him out that quick because we are taking no cap hit and no dead money on his contract.
Exactly.
He was a third.
I think they're taking
overall pick.
some,
That's
are they not?
No, they paid him. Obviously, I mean, we still had to pay him for his contract year last year, which we already did, and we probably were giving him, his checks up until this point. You still get paid in the off season as a player, but they took the remaining amount of his cap hit, which was 11 million on the year,
Yeah,
and they can
'cause-
still exercise his franchise tag if they want to.
yeah, it probably should have been a bit more than a 5th round pick, but that's the part that people don't realize is the Lions got out of his salary completely. So now I think they have the
Yeah.
most cap space, if not a tiny bit less than
Yeah,
Bears.
And honestly, he
because of-
fits Atlanta's scheme a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah, and with
In
and
my
pairing
opinion. He
pairing him
fits
with
their team
Jesse
a lot
Bates.
better.
Yeah, pairing with
Yeah.
Jesse Bates, great situation.
Yep.
One of the best safeties in football
And
behind
D.
you.
Alford.
Be better.
Yeah.
He can be more of a ball attacking guy than he had to be in Detroit being on an island. So
Yeah.
he is, because it's all signing bonus money, we do owe him 5 million this year, but that's it.
that's fine.
Oh,
Yeah.
we own 5.
Yeah, but I mean, still,
Gotcha.
so
The
you
cap
still
is
free
fake
up
anyway.
another 5. You free up another 5 from not paying him this year, and then next year you don't owe him the.
Well, you
what was
just
he
do 11
11?
minus 5. It's 6. So you save 6 million.
So, no,
Yeah.
but the 11 was, well, yeah, this year, and then didn't they have
The
next
11
year
is
as
just
well?
base, isn't it? I don't know. I don't have his contract up. Do you have it up on a window?
I'm looking at it right now, right? So it's 5 million was the cap hit this year. Next year, I'm sorry, next
Next
year
year's
they
his
owe.
option.
Yeah, but if they exercise it, that's 11 million they have to pay him.
Exactly. So we don't have to pay any of that if they exercise his option. They took
Right.
everything.
Yeah, so basically, if you look at it this way, we saved about 5 million this year, and then if you look at it as they were gonna extend him and they didn't, they saved quote
Oh,
11 next year,
11,
but they
yeah.
weren't gonna extend him anyway, so they
Yeah,
saved
that
5
makes
this year
sense.
and got a 5th round pick.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
I think
Which, if
again,
you
I
think
think
about it that way, it's not a bad deal. I mean, you save 5 million in cap and then you get another 5th round pick.
Yeah, I mean, out of the position groups in the draft to corner, I think I would probably say is the deepest. Maybe tight end, but it's a super deep corner class. There's 2 top guys and then 3 mid-level guys. So basically 2 guys you could take at 6, and you got 3 or 4 guys you could easily take at 18. So
Yeah,
I
this
think
is a really deep class for corners.
exactly. In addition to that, I do think it's pretty symbolic that they're like, hey, all the Quinn Trisha guys, they're out of here. So it's my team. Let's make it
The
happen.
only ones left are Ragnow and Decker. and
Exactly.
I guess Graham Glasgow too, because he came back.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
yeah.
but that was a signing. I
Yeah.
also don't mind that signing either. He's a good depth guy to have on your bench.
correct.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
I've got a lot of tabs open here with different.
let's just say
odds.
this, let's just touch on this because it's kind of related. Do you think potentially if DeAndre Swift gets off to a hot start this year, they're gonna shop him?
They've been shopping him from. what
Yeah,
I've
they've been
heard.
shopping him pre-draft, I've heard as well.
Alright.
Because
I wouldn't be
again,
surprised
do you
if he
think-
gets traded in the draft process, but
That's
I
what I'm
just don't
saying.
think his value is high. I think you could maybe get like maybe a 5th or 6th like you did with Okuda for him.
I think what happens is teams get desperate, right? Because if you look at this draft,
It's a
it's
loaded
really-
running back draft too, though.
but it's a different type of running back. There's about 1 or 2 guys that can catch balls out of the backfield, and that's Bijan Robinson and Jameer Gibbs. After that, they're all between the tackles guys. So Jameer Gibbs is a good catching out of the backfield. And there's about 2 or 3 teams that are desperate for a guy that can catch balls out of the backfield. And for
I
me,
think the
that's
McBride guy's decent out of the backfield too. He just doesn't get spotlighted as a small school guy.
he led the league in rushing yards. He didn't really
Yeah.
catch the ball like that. But not like if you look at a team like the Bills or a team like the what's it called? The Bengals, they both need a backup back big time. Bills don't have a running back period, and Joe Mixon's facing charges again. So I think that there's definitely spots there. And Jameer Gibbs is a hell of a player. But if you want a immediate win now guy, DeAndre Swift would be a fine rental. So, but then again, you look at a guy like Austin Eckler and Derrick Henry, both have been on the market, openly shopped, and no offers for either guy.
Yeah.
So
True, but there's a
I
big
also
difference
don't. I
in their
also
pay
don't mind
grade.
entering the season with Swift either, because David Montgomery can be a 3-down back, but I don't think he is a true 3-down back. I really don't think there's many of those left in the NFL. I think you kind of have to have a spearheaded backfield where you can keep teams honest.
Yep.
But if they do try to shop Swift, then I think they would definitely address running back in the draft as
Well,
well.
that's
in
why I'm
later
saying
rounds.
I'm imagining they're gonna take somebody in the draft, right? They might not take him in the first 2 rounds, but
Unless
they
they
might
keep Swift, I don't think they'll take a running back unless it's maybe in the 6th or 7th round, like they did with what's his name last year, Jamar Jefferson.
Right, so imagine they draft a guy, Swift starts off the season, he's playing pretty well. Maybe you can squeeze out a fourth or a fifth for him and then they just move him.
I could definitely see that.
Possibly.
Yeah, but
I mean, this is the last year on his contract.
and we decline his
He's
option.
trade him to a contender for a fourth or fifth round pick.
Yep.
I don't think you're getting a fourth. I think you're getting 5 to 7. 5
But
if you're
imagine
lucky.
he gets off to a hot start this year. They try
It's-
and showcase him a little more and he's playing well. You never know, dude.
An in-season
Mid-season
trade, you're saying?
Yeah,
Yeah,
mid-season
like after the
trades are
season starts.
pretty rare, but I mean,
Yeah,
I could,
those
again, I
are
could see
little-
it. Again, yeah, you're right. If someone gets desperate, sure.
Especially if we're contending, which we're gonna be expected to be contending, we're not just gonna ship Swift if he's having a good year.
True, but this is where you have to trust Brad. He's not
And
gonna
I
be
think
so
I don't
short-sighted
think
and
that's one
saying,
of Brad's moves.
no,
That would
but
be
hear
like
me
a-
out, hear me out. If they're in this hunt, like we all believe they're going to be, Brad's not gonna be like, oh my gosh, DeAndre Swift is the glue that's holding the offense together. If there's an offer for him, that he's gonna be like, nope, he's untouchable. We have to have him. Brad's
Yeah, but
gonna,
if Montgomery goes down, you're fucked.
but I'm saying they're gonna draft someone in this year. I'm telling you, they're going to.
I think that I could definitely see
Yeah,
it
I
too.
mean, I could definitely see that
And they
happening.
the way
still
the
have-
offense, the
they
way the
still have-
offense
what's his name?
is,
Who's
the way the offense is
46?
fine.
Who's
the
46?
running
What?
back 46? What's his name?
Craig Reynolds,
Craig Reynolds. Yeah,
the hard knock standout.
exactly. Exactly. The standout. Imagine they still got, I mean, they can't.
He's a
you
good
carry-
back. I do think he could be like a third down back, or that like hold that third back in your depth chart. He's not bad. He's a solid back.
Mhm.
Yeah,
And he proved that when he was healthy. Not this last year, but the year previous to that.
yeah. The problem is you can't, they're not going to carry 4 running backs onto the roster.
I mean, if any team would,
Maybe
they
they
run the ball a
might.
lot.
They really might. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they do keep 4. But if they keep, you got to realize Kabinda as well. He's going to be on the roster too. He's technically a fullback, but he's absorbs part of that. He's in the running back room,
True,
running
true.
back tight end sort of room.
Alrighty, so looking at some of these other odds here, I thought we would talk about what's going on with the top 5 picks in front of the Lions and how that's going to affect their draft board. It seems now people have finally realized that Bryce Young is the correct pick at 1. He is now a heavy favorite in Vegas. He's about minus 400 to 500, depending on your book. And then after that, you got CJ Stroud as the next favorite to go to. I think it's pretty clear there that those are 1, 2. And then the draft starts at pick 3. And it's like, all right, is someone going to go up and trade for the generational talent of Will Anderson? Or are the Colts going to protect their ass and go up 1 spot to get AR-15, who is currently the favorite at odds-wise at pick 3, which is kind of crazy. So a lot of people right now have 4 quarterbacks going the first 4 picks, which I think is a little rich personally. But as we know, quarterbacks get overvalued, and you see guys like Will Levis that should probably be late first round picks going in the top 5. And we're at that point right now where they have Will Levis is the favorite at pick 4, Richardson's the favorite at pick 3, and then the Bryce Young and TJ Stroud. So as of now,
What's
Vegas,
Anderson? I'm sorry, what's Richardson at pick 3? What are the odds?
minus 130.
Wow.
So they think it's either the Colts are going to go up 1, or we've seen that Rap Sheet was
This is going to move a lot in the coming weeks.
Rap Sheet was talking a lot
always
about
does.
it, that, in the hours before the draft, it's going to get chaotic with pick 3. And that's, again, where the draft starts, and it's going to be chaos. So
I think regardless, within the first 5 picks, we're going to see at least 1 or 2 trades.
yes.
And I'm saying that right now with wholeheartedly. I would put money on that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you can bet that in Vegas, but I would say we see minimum one trade in the first 5 picks.
And the
And
other
I'm
thing,
thinking more like 2.
yeah, the other thing that's been starting to get floated around too is, all right, you're the Texans. You've got 2 firsts this year. You've got 2 firsts next year. Why don't you just take the generational defensive talent in Will Anderson, punt on a quarterback this year, build the rest of your team, and go get Caleb Williams next year? That's becoming a likely thing, with the odds of Will Anderson decreasing at pick 2 and increasing otherwhere. So that could throw a wrench in everybody's plans.
I think the Texans could trade back as well. I know a lot of people think like, why would the Texans trade back? They can get like a generational talent, this or that. I think they're going to have a top 2 pick next year, regardless of what they do.
Whether it be them
I
or the Browns.
Yeah, I think they'll be able to get their pick of Caleb Williams next year and Drake May, whichever one they want. I don't think they're going to go quarterback this year. I think if they stay at their pick, they'll take probably Anderson.
Why though? They could, if they want Anderson, you can trade with Indianapolis at 4 and you could probably still get Anderson.
That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't even be surprised if the Lions called Houston to move up and draft Anderson if that's their guy.
I would agree.
I think Houston's at a point right now where their pick is, you know, it's very valuable, and they realize that teams wouldn't mind trading up with them because they're not in a position where they're ready to win now, and they're not in a position where they're necessarily ready to draft a quarterback. In my
I mean, it
opinion,
ultimately comes down to who do how much do you like Bryce Young? I'm Bryce Young, CJ Stroud. If they don't like him that much, then yeah, why would you take him?
Yeah, like we didn't hear anything about a trade with or
if they
them.
don't like any of the quarterbacks, why would they take them? If Stroud's their guy, they would have traded up with Chicago. They would have moved up that one spot like Carolina did. If they had their guy, they have the capital to be able to move up and take them at 1. I don't think Houston has that guy. I don't think they value any of the top 2-3 quarterbacks overwhelmingly over the others like Carolina did to move up. I think Houston's in a situation where they're just playing their cards right, and if they're gonna, if the phone rings, they're ready to bite, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think the whole narrative around them to just being okay with the leftovers of the other quarterback.
No,
We've seen that once, and that was the Chargers. Granted, it worked with Herbert, but I don't know. I mean,
they're under a regime change too. They're not. I mean, maybe it's
After
not.
Lovey, after Lovey Smith gave him one final gift, winning the last game before he got canned, they're under a full regime change.
Yep.
I don't think it really matters because I don't think Young or Stroud are like blue chip talents like people say. I think this quarterback class is a little overrated in my opinion, from top to bottom.
I think, you got a generational talent potentially in Richardson, or he's out of the league in 2 years. Will Levis is only relevant because Josh Allen exists. CJ Stroud.
I don't trust a guy with Bible tattoos on his throwing arm.
That's what we don't trust about it. Not that he has mayo.
It.
He puts mayo in his coffee and he eats
and I'm
bananas.
a religious guy too.
He eats bananas with the peel on. Those are the things. But you got that, and then CJ Stroud, Ohio State quarterbacks that never worked. But
I don't know. I have a feeling about Stroud.
That's what we've heard the last 10 Ohio State quarterbacks.
No.
I think Stroud could be a good system guy, sort of the way that, Jared Goff is.
That's his
as
player
weird
comp.
As that sounds.
His player comp is Jared Goff and Geno Smith. So I know doesn't really get the juices flowing if you're picking 1 or 2, but I mean, Bryce Young.
He's just so good.
Bryce Young, they always talk about how he's so small. He played in the SEC. Like if he was,
I don't get the knocks on him.
If he played that size in like the Pac-12, I could get the argument a bit. He's in the SEC. Half the guys he was going against are like top ones. He played against that Georgia defense and lit them up. Okay, I think Bryce Young.
I think Bryce has the most upside of all the quarterbacks. Yeah. Even people say Richardson just because he's athletic. I think Bryce Young's athletic and he's more cerebral and far more accurate.
Because he had again, he played at Alabama last year, but he didn't really play at Alabama. Because name an Alabama skill player last year outside of Jahmyr Gibbs. Like it's pretty hard.
Can't.
I mean, you got Cameron Latu and you've got the kid that punched the Tennessee girl in the face, the Jermaine Burton. It's like, that's about it. So I don't know. I mean, again, you looked at CJ Stroud. All of his receivers are going in the top 10 of the first round. So, and every running back 5-star, his whole offensive line is getting drafted. I mean, how many Bama first round picks are we having? Just 2, 3, maybe Brian Branch, but they're proving on the defense. I mean, when's the last time we've had only one offensive player on Bama go the first 3 rounds? It's crazy.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really was a weak year for them.
Exactly. And he had almost a better year this year than he did last year.
They were a young team this year too. There was a lot of underclassmen playing a lot of time.
And it's crazy.
They're going to be good next year.
Yeah, not even to get super into college football, but they called last year a rebuilding year, and then this current season was the season, and they should have lost 4 games. Everyone always talks about how they only lost 2 games by 1 point each. They won 2 games at 1 point, both in Texas and Texas A&M. Like, I don't know,
Yep. The
But-
Texas game was like a farce practically. Texas was on their third string quarterback.
Yeah, Hudson Card, the now starter at Purdue. So we'll see how that goes. But after the quarterbacks,
I
it's
mean, but
obvious-
legitimately, now that you guys said it, I mean, I think it makes sense. I think there's a legit chance Indianapolis just bites the bullet. They move to 2. They draft Stroud. And then Arizona's going to shop their pick at that point because then there's going to be a total run. And then Houston somehow gets to trade back, gather more assets, and they
And
get to take
potentially
Anderson
still
at
get
4.
Jalen Carter.
No,
or Will
Anderson.
I
I'm
mean, not
saying
if
That
yeah,
could do-
I
they
mean,
could
but
do
not if
both.
but not if the Lions try to call up too, because if he falls past Houston or past 3, and if the Lions really like him,
Yep.
Brad's going balls to the wall. in
no,
my
I know,
opinion.
but
He's
what I'm
calling- he's
saying
doing
is
whatever he
imagine
can.
imagine Houston trades with Indianapolis. So and then Arizona at 3 trades with another quarterback team. 1, 2, 3 are all quarterbacks.
So Houston
Houston's-
goes to 4.
and they're just sitting there and Will Anderson just falls in their lap. Can you imagine how much of a power play that would be?
Yeah.
For
People are saying
Houston?
this. People are saying the same thing with the Bears, that they could go from 1-9 and get Jalen Carter still. But speaking
Yeah.
of Jalen Carter, there's 3 defensive players really that are in tier 1, depending on how you grade them. And that's Will Anderson, who's head and shoulders above, in my opinion. Then you got Tyree Wilson and Jalen Carter. And this is pretty much the debate at every mock draft for the Seahawks at 5 is, do they go Jalen Carter or do they go Tyree Wilson? And will the opposite one go to the Lions? Obviously, Jalen Carter, he's the top ranked prospect in a long time from a lot of people on all their sources. But clearly there's an issue off the field. Disclaimer, obviously the situation's horrific. No one, we're just going to speak past it because, everyone here, hearts and prayers, thoughts and prayers, everything. But
Yeah, personally, I think a lot of teams are smoke screening. I think a lot of teams will draft him and have no problem with drafting him. I think a lot of it's the media, and I think some teams don't even care that the media are trying to, question the kid's reputation and character because it could mean him falling in the draft to them.
Yep.
So it's all a business move. The media is going to be the media. If he was a terrible person and he was really, I think more would have came out about it. I think it's still like iffy. I don't think, I think it was just a terrible mistake. Everyone makes mistakes in their lives. I don't think he's solely to blame. And I think he's going to get drafted and I think he'll have a good career. I don't think this will define him if he grows from it and learns. And I've heard some good things about Jalen Carter too. I've
Oh, yeah.
done a little bit of digging. A lot of his Georgia teammates speak really highly of him. So
yeah, he used all of his NIL money, a lot of it. One of his best friends was non-scholarship. He paid for all of his meals and his books and stuff. So
yeah,
Yeah.
we've heard a lot of good
the,
things.
there's that
the
too.
whole farce that he's not a good
When
person
you-
needs to be
When you peel
dismantled.
back the layers, there's a lot that's underneath the surface that people don't like to look at. But
Yeah.
regardless, I think I wouldn't mind if the Lions drafted him personally. I think he's one of those. I would rather have Anderson just because, not because I think anything less of Carter. I just think that Anderson is the better prospect and fits the Lions scheme better. And him and Hutch would just be a scary combo. And I also think that you can find a good nose tackle and defensive tackle that can fit the Lions scheme somewhere in the mid to late rounds, like we did with Aleem McNeil
I agree. Yeah,
Maisie Smith.
or Keanu Benton from Wisconsin, who I like a lot.
Siaki Ika too. The
I
kid,
like him from Baylor.
Kalijah Cansey, Brian Brise.
I think Cansey's going to go high.
A lot
I
of
think
D
Cansey will go in
tackles.
the top 15.
Yeah.
And I think I would like Brise, but I just think that he is more of a like 3-tech
Yeah.
sort of pass rusher, and he's not as much of a run stuffer. I kind of want just a big guy to hurt people in the middle there.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah.
Um,
And that's why I'd say it's a pretty good spot where the way this draft works for the Lions at 6 and 18, you can really interchange whether you go corner at 6, you can go D line at 18, or vice
They're
versa.
not going corner at 6.
They are currently minus 130 to go corner at 6. The
I would,
odds shifted
what's,
now.
is it still even money to, on the defensive line player?
Plus 120 now.
Oh, wow, you got a bad value on it, didn't you?
I think they're just thinking that there's gonna be, I think that
I think there's a
the
less than
reason for that is
5%
they think
chance
the
they
Lions
draft a
aren't
corner
gonna
at
be able to
6.
land Carter or Anderson.
Yeah.
If Carter or Anderson's there, I don't see how the Lions could skip over that. Or, in my opinion, I think we should just because I think the Lions, because they've been so quiet about Will Anderson, I think they really like him as a prospect. I think it's something where it's like the year that Holmes in his first season drafted Sewell, where everyone thought Penei Sewell was going to be a top 3, 4 pick, and he just somehow slipped to the Lions after Slater was drafted.
Same with Hutch
before
to
him.
2.
Yeah, same with Hutch to 2. I think it's just that sort of thing where the Lions
Had
aren't
all
going to
these
try
little
to.
Spartans. He's not good. He
All
didn't
right, all
do
right.
anything against
All right, enough
Georgia.
with that.
Speaking
Enough with
about
that.
the whole Spartan thing, you could get the guy that should have been the defensive Heisman nominee, Will Anderson, on the same team. I would love that.
Yeah. Then they can go to New York together.
That's hey, listen, that is a generational pass rush duo for like the next 10 years. You got the 2 of the best.
And you're not even
freaks.
talking about Houston, who's coming off a 7-8 sack season as a 7th-round
Well,
pick.
and let's not just moss over big body bugs.
Oh, big body bugs. That's Isaac's favorite player.
He's all in this year. Mm-mm. No, but really, what would it
Veteran
take? What would
leadership.
it take if they wanted to get up to 3? What would it really realistically take?
Here, I can
I
do
think
I
it
will,
would take 6 regardless.
Yeah,
And
6,
I think
obviously.
I think it might take 18, or you might be able to leverage a second and maybe a future in next year's draft as well,
yeah, here.
depending on what you give them.
I can pull up the draft chart right here and we can look at
Would you trade? Would you
Look up
trade
here.
the better 2nd-round pick? What is it? 48.
Yeah, I think you got to. I'll pull up the chart right here.
Is 48 ours or is 48 Minnesota's?
Ours.
It's ours.
Yeah,
Okay, here. Let me pull up the chart right here.
I would trade ours. I would trade the 48 and 6 for 3.
Yes, here's the draft capital sheet we were just talking about. So if the Lions want to get up to Arizona, they got to hit 2,200. So they need, what is that? 600 more? No. Yeah, 600 more. So if you look at the numbers here, it would be, here we go. So it'd be this right here would be 2,200. So
Is
basically,
this hypothetical? Because there's no way we're going to trade with Carolina.
no, this is to get up to Arizona, 2,200.
Oh, Arizona. I thought you were saying Carolina.
So you would
Sorry.
need to get match value, you'd need 6, 48, and 18. That pretty much hits it even.
No, no way.
Sorry, 6, 48, and 81. Pardon me.
That's if the team understands this concept.
Yeah, this is all hearsay.
Let's say I have a pretty good source that's worked in the NFL for a long time that at least half the teams use this chart. Yeah, so that's
Yeah,
how
I
I'm
could
thinking.
see that. I could see that, but I could also see them asking for a future in next year's draft because I don't think we want to give up any more capital in this draft. But I think the Lions, maybe they add like a 3rd round next year and hope we
Yeah,
get a compensatory
'cause
next year or something like that.
We have 2 third
Are we
rounds
going to get a
next year.
compensatory for Okuda as well? Because we didn't exercise his option. We might get a 3rd or 4th next year for that.
I don't think so. I think that
Probably
only
not.
happens if they walk on you in free agency.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
it does? Okay.
if you
They
look at
traded
it-
him. You don't get a compensatory.
Exactly. But if you look at it, we have an extra 3rd next year for from the TJ Hawkinson deal. So we still have 2/3 next year. So I would have no problem if they just wanted to do like 6, 48 in next year's 3rd, no problem.
I wouldn't have a problem with that either.
No,
but-
because you basically just traded TJ Hawkinson for Will Anderson.
The problem
Yeah.
is they might want more than this value purely because
Which is
Detroit
why
would
I'm
rather
saying, would you get mad if Detroit also leveraged a 3rd round in next year's draft to move up?
not at all. But what I'm saying is if you look at other teams that are going to want a quarterback, right? We're talking
Mhm.
about maybe Atlanta, Tennessee,
They'll offer more.
Washington, Tampa Bay. You could get like if you were to be the GM of the Cardinals, right? Your quarterback's coming off an ACL injury. He's probably not going to do much next year. You're kind of throwing this year in the trash semi, right? Brand new coach, new scheme, get under his belt. Would you rather have 6, 48, and 81, or would you rather have 1950 in an unprotected 1st-round pick next year of Tampa Bay? You know what I mean? It's going to be tough to compete with a pick like that could be in the top 5, no questions asked. So we'll see how that goes. But I thought we would hop into a mock draft here and just kind of talk through it with a good visual, make it a bit.
I don't know. I kind of
easier.
think the Lions could
But he's
have
got the
competitive
PFF
offer.
premium. I love it.
Obviously, we're going Bryce Young here, right?
Are we doing no trades here?
I just think we could do a few different scenarios, just kind of see what's going on. So,
Oh, I thought you
Are
were
we
just gonna pick
drafting
as
for
the
everyone?
Lions. It's more fun when you just pick as the Lions.
I
Yeah.
understand, but the I've done enough of these where they act really stupid. So,
Where the
uh,
AI just, yeah.
yeah, like Jalen Carter goes third in every draft.
All right, let's just say Houston trades out of this here, like we were talking about
Yeah,
earlier.
trade
Let's
it
say
with
Houston.
Indianapolis.
Well, look at that first one. So we'll just again, I don't need. We're doing a one round. We'll just make the trade happen. We'll go from there,
Yeah.
right? So they trade up and they can get Shroud, which I'd imagine they'd probably want behind that offensive line with a good enough running back with Taylor
Yep.
and a decent
Exactly
enough
what they want.
receiving core. A lot of tight ends, love it. All right, if you're three here, if you're the Cardinals, who's going to want to get up with you? You know, you're probably one of these other quarterback friendly teams, I would
Wow,
guess.
Lions not even on there.
No, but I mean, I would we can again we can force
Vegas.
it if you want. Yeah, I mean, I think either like Vegas or I think see this is the team I think that would want it. The way Atlanta plays with their run scheme, a guy like Richardson that could run the ball, I think would be a perfect fit here. But that's just me. I don't know what you guys are thinking.
Yeah,
Why do
I
they have
also heard
Seattle
that.
on there?
I also
Why do
heard
they
that
have
Atlanta.
Seattle?
I heard Atlanta liked Levis as well.
Yeah, so I think Atlanta could pop up easy. We'll just do this for now. And looking
Let's
at
just say they pick. Let's just say they pick Richardson.
Yep. They picked Richardson, the computer did. So now you're sitting there, you're Indy. I mean, you're sitting here. Do you want to go Will Levis? Absolutely not. I think Will Anderson's an easy pick
No,
here.
Easy.
I think Houston takes Anderson or Carter. Yeah, but
They
let's
take
just do
Anderson.
Anderson.
Yeah. So they could move down, get additional capital, probably at minimum pick 35. So another second round pick for them. And then you look
You
here,
get more than that.
maybe. Something like 2 spots, and then you're looking here. I would imagine, yeah, it's probably Tyree Wilson or Jalen Carter here. And it's really dependent on culture.
I think it's Carter.
Yeah, I would probably say so as well. Either one of these guys would
Let's
go
just
there.
do Carter because I think here's the thing.
I think
Everyone
if the Lions
trusts-
don't trade up, they're not getting Carter or Anderson.
I agree. Everyone's got Carter falling, but
probably.
I agree with you. I think it's more of a media thing.
It's a media
There are a
thing.
lot of
I think Seattle knows
Yeah.
what they're doing.
there are much more questionable guys in the
But
NFL.
still, the way this board fell, the Lions can still trade back with a team that wants that quarterback in Levis, or they can take the best defensive player available right now.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you do
it
if you're
does kind of
Holmes?
it kind of leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Like you would have loved one of those defensive guys to fall or to
Well,
have the
no one's
chance to
saying the
draft him.
Lions aren't going to trade up, but we just didn't do that in this mock.
I know, but this is like, in my opinion, this is like worst case scenario.
Yeah.
I think the Lions will either trade up or trade down.
Because
I think they'll
I
probably trade
think
up.
everyone kind of is on the same page. They don't really want a corner at 6.
I think
No,
it's, I
Doesn't
mean,
even
I-
have to do with Theo Kuda thing.
why not Tyree Wilson? Are you guys that's not big Tyree Wilson guys, or
I'm not huge on Wilson. I think he's raw. I think he's got great size. I think he's a solid prospect. But
he's
I'm
more of a
just not
true
high
D
on-
edge.
I'm just not high on him.
Yeah, he's more of an edge, a
Yeah.
good run stopping, big body. I mean, so what? He's like 6'7" with like a 7'5" wingspan. Dude's massive.
Yeah.
He's good. Honestly, I think Van Ness and him are closer than people presume.
Van
As
Ness,
far as talent level goes.
yeah, Van Ness really feels like an what's it called pick to me, like an NBA pick. I mean, Van Ness didn't play at Iowa.
I would never
Almost
pick
at
him
all.
at 6 if I were the Lions. I'm not saying to pick him right now. I'm just saying if this is where the Lions are at right now, I think that at this position, I think they would probably take Witherspoon, honestly, at 6, or I'd say him or Cansey.
Yeah,
No, I really don't want a corner at 6.
I wouldn't either, but I think
I wouldn't
that
mind Wilson or Cansey.
I don't think they're gonna take a corner at 6 either.
Cansey is really good. He's shooting up people's draft boards. I don't think he's going to fall out of the top 12.
I would agree, but I think that you're in a spot here where if you're not sold on Tyree Wilson, and
You
you
just
can
trade
do a
back.
good job selling Will Levis, you can get a lot from one of these teams. Again, like
Yeah,
again,
You could,
I
okay,
know
you could move back a pick or 2 picks
exactly, or you can probably stick and
or
pick.
to 11 with Tennessee.
I think the most likely thing here, I agree with David, is you're going to either go Witherspoon or Tyree Wilson. And here's where this is the analysis of the millions of mock drafts that have been done. And it's exactly what we're saying. And here's your
and Brad Holmes
three.
understands, this is not a pick to take a corner with.
I think with how deep the corners
They
are,
didn't just sign 3 corners in free agency to use the 6th overall pick on it. They didn't.
that's why I'm with, and I'm in that camp.
That's what I'm
Even if you
leaning
got rid of
towards,
Okuda,
too.
I think you're still fine because the corner class is so deep. I think you go Tyree Wilson here. I don't
They're
know.
gonna still draft one. They're just not gonna draft one at 6.
I think we go Tyree Wilson here if you guys are okay
And
with
you know
that.
what, Blake? I think you've convinced me. I'm gonna handicap it. Now that I know that there's value on the defensive end or tackle, I'm absolutely gonna handicap that on as their first pick.
All right, Will Levis goes to the Raiders. And then speaking of the Raiders and Josh McDaniels, I do think that the dark horse team that go nuts here is the Patriots. Obviously, we've heard that Mac Jones has completely lost the locker room. They hate him over there now because he was trying to get outside help because legendary offensive mind Matt Patricia was his coordinator last year. So you hate to see such a starving
Pencil
organization like the Patriots, have problems.
Paul.
I think if you look here, right now that we've seen some of these guys go off the board here, you're looking at the Texans here. My guess is they just go best defensive player available. Clyde Cansey, put him up in D'Amico Ryan's system, pair him up there.
I
think
wouldn't be
it's a no-brainer.
surprised if they either took that or Quentin.
Yeah. And then you're down here sitting at pick 18. You are the Lions. What do you guys like here? Yeah,
it's
Honestly,
just staring at
I
you.
wouldn't be mad. I wouldn't be mad if they took one of the offensive linemen if they thought that he could, slide into the guard position.
yeah.
Maybe
Darnell Wright can
be
do
a
that.
stalwart.
At Tennessee,
Yeah.
he played 4 of the 5 positions. He just didn't play center. He was guard when he needed to, but he played mostly tackle. Brian Branch, he's kind of a what's it
He
called?
can play
Gardner
nickel,
Johnson.
safety.
Exactly. He's like a Gardner Johnson insurance.
How is Bijan Robinson so low?
Running back has no value in the first round. As good as he
Especially
is.
on this mock draft.
For
I think
me,
He'll
that's
get drafted
crazy. I mean, I think he's gonna get drafted before halfway through the first round.
I would be
So do
shocked. I would say the
Mhm.
only teams that would take him, if I had to guess seriously, would be the Chargers, probably the first team that would take him. Outside of the Chargers, you'd be looking at, I would say Dallas, maybe Bills, definitely.
I wouldn't mind.
Eagles.
I wouldn't mind Kincaid at 18 either.
I
like
agree with
Dalton
you on that.
Kincaid.
I think
He was their entire offense at Utah.
so. If you're a
With
big,
that
I want to
quarterback
go.
they had. What's their quarterback's name?
Carson Strong,
escaping
not
my
Carson
head.
Strong. He's
No.
Cam Rising. There you go.
Yeah,
Rising.
Cam Rising.
I said,
Yeah.
I said,
Remember, he got drilled in the Rose Bowl against last year and still came back and played. That kid's tough.
No, that was a Pac-12
Against
championship
Ohio
game.
State.
No, Pac-12 championship game against USC. That was when he got lit up.
No, I'm
I
talking
think
about
it
the year
was-
prior. When
Yeah,
when they
last year in
played
the
Penn
Rose Bowl
State,
too.
or
Was
was
it?
that Ohio State? They played in
Ohio
the Rose
State,
Bowl?
the Njigba
Ohio
game.
State, yeah.
Oh yeah, that one too.
Oh,
Yeah, he got
Ohio
a
State.
concussion in that game. Yeah, I was thinking of
Yeah, he got
the one this year where he
smoked
came
that
back.
game.
But yeah, I wouldn't mind it. Let's see what the analysis says. I bet it's be corner. Yeah, Kalijah Cansey maybe corner. I'm
there's
with
Dalton
David. I
Kincaid.
think Cansey climbs up here, and I think again, you just go opposite what you did up here, right? If you're gonna go edge, Tyree Wilson, you can do that. If you go corner, you're probably could. If you want to go edge bad, Miles Murphy or Nolan Smith.
I don't
These
even
two,
see Cansey. Did he go?
yeah, he went with the over up here.
Yeah,
with
12.
the Texans.
Honestly, Brzee wouldn't be a bad pick here too. I know I said that I'd want like more of a nose tackle, but he's not bad. He can play all over the defensive line.
Absolutely, yeah. So
I don't mind him. I don't mind him either.
I think there's just a few positions here. I mean, really at 18 I have almost no problem with what you do at 18, whatever you deem your biggest need. Tight end.
So I see Holmes last year maybe following that same archetype where he takes that offensive weapon.
That's what I'm saying. I think Bijan Robinson, if he's there, I think you have a tough time walking past him.
I guess, yeah.
Think about it. If you're sitting there at pick 25 and you get Bijan Robinson for 5 years, sure, you could probably draft a defensive player who will be solid on your team for 10 years, but you'll find a team that'll take him for the 5, at least.
Yes, for sure.
Do you think I'm wrong? Do you think I'm wrong?
Yeah,
No, I don't think you're
Go for
wrong,
it.
but I think that not many
Not
teams are
every
gonna do
GM
that.
is as smart as Brad.
got it. Okay, so if you look at this here, right? So back to
No,
the
I'm
Lions.
serious. Do you agree with me on that?
I think Brad's one of the upper echelon GMs as of now. Yeah, I
I
would say
agree
so.
with that, but don't you think there's somebody in the pack there that will do it?
Yes, I do. But let's not go off on the Bijan tangent. Let's
Good.
just pretend that he's not even on the board
Okay,
right
let's
now.
pretend he's not. He's
He's not
off
even
the
an
board.
option.
They're not taking him.
Off the board.
So looking back at the Lions here, you've got a few again. You got a few options, a lot of offensive guys, a lot of defensive guys too down here as well. I think the variance on Nolan Smith and Miles Murphy is going to be super high. Some mocks have both of these guys in the top 10. Some have them in the second round. The edge is so deep that I think that, you know, with already taking an edge, a bit more of a defensive tackle edge type, you're probably okay there. I would not mind going offense. I know a lot of the Lions fans want you to go defense, 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 but a guy like Dalton Kincaid, I think, would be unbelievable in this scheme. So I think that would be the pick if I was a GM. So we'll do this real quick here and just take whoever for the Seahawks, just kind of clear it out for them and reload up with another scheme here, seeing what's going on. We'll try this time just the Lions to make it a bit more interesting and see if there's any shenanigans from PFF up
Let's
here.
try to trade up.
Here's
Let's
what we
call
have.
Houston.
Yeah, again, this is a bit more of a realistic thing, kind of what we were doing almost exactly last time. I think this is exactly the order and what's going to happen, especially if the Cardinals don't trade out. But I'm with David. Let's try a little trade up here and we'll do a trade down afterwards. So let's go here and enter. Looking here at a trade up. So at a move edge, we want to trade with the Cardinals. Is that the thought here?
I'd say Arizona or Houston. I'm fine with either.
Okay, so 3, 6, 48 and 81. This is what I would imagine the trade would be, or if we could, do this
Instead of 81, try giving them the third next year, or a fourth next year.
Try not giving them anything. Just try 6 and 48 and see if it works.
Negative.
Give them 83 next year.
Yeah. 3 next year. Perfect. There we go.
Beautiful.
I think you could get it
Brad's
for just the first
racing
and the
to put the
second.
envelope in right now.
I
Will
think you
Anderson.
could get the first. I think you get it done with just the first and the second.
No,
I
not
don't
even
think
close.
so.
Not enough value. You
Not
might
even
even be both seconds. You might need that.
I'm interested to see what the computer does for Houston here at 6, though. I mean, Arizona at 6.
Yep. So we're gonna go Will Anderson. I believe that's pretty easy.
100% Anderson.
And I'll slow it
Yep.
down for a bit more dramatic effect. Let's see here.
Okay, so Anderson.
Gonzalez. There you go.
Ty Gonzalez. Wow.
And all right, so now you're sitting here.
Roll up a little bit. Let's see who's gone off the board between 18 and now. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So now you're sitting here.
Besides, yeah.
And you can go Kalijah Cansey and make your defensive line unstoppable. Or if you want to go corner, you've got Deontay Banks there, who's a great corner. And again, you got Dalton Kincaid as a weapon. And even at this point, if you go Will Anderson, I would be more open to Bijan purely because you've made your defense that much better. But I would imagine the pick here is Kalijah Cansey.
What's the difference between Tyree Wilson and Will Anderson?
Oh boy. How long do you have?
Prospect versus, yeah.
So you're saying if they take Tyree Wilson, you wouldn't take Bijan, but if they take Will Anderson, you would take Bijan Robinson, even though they'd have less draft picks.
I wouldn't regardless. I was saying I'd be more open to it.
Bijan.
Yeah, I think if you
say that again, David.
I'm on the boat of I do not want to take Bijan regardless of what happens. I don't like that pick. If he's there in the second round, sure, I would.
Yeah,
second
exactly.
round, sure, but I'm not taking a first round pick.
I think
if he falls
81.
To the second.
Pick 81, because if you look at how the draft has been going in these simulations, on pick 81, you can get Dwayne McBride, Tank Bigsby, Keandre Miller, Tajai Spears. Those are some stud backs. Or even if you go into the 5th round, you can reach down for Chase Brown, Mo Ibrahim, not Tavon Thomas. He's in jail currently. But
Charbonnet.
Chris Rodriguez. No, Charbonnet is going to be the second back off the board, I think. Maybe Jameer Gibbs. It's just based on who you
What's
like
that
there.
photo for Zach Charbonnet? Who is that?
That's Zach Charbonnet.
I can't, it doesn't look like him in the photo. That looks like Dorian, what's his name? I think they have the wrong guy on there.
You actually might be right.
Yeah, I think they do too.
Yeah, I
They,
knew
It
it.
I
looks like
swear
Dorian
that's not
Thompson.
Zach Charbonnet.
Does DTR even have a photo? Let's look. Interesting. No. Fair enough.
They put it on,
Yeah,
what's
that
his
done
name?
messed up.
I
Yeah.
saw the braids and I'm like, that
Funny.
is not Zach Charbonnet.
All right. So looking at the Lions here, what
Looking
are we
at
thinking?
18. Sheesh, man.
I mean,
I'm
any one of these
saying-
three, I'm okay with.
I like at this pick. I like honestly. I like Banks or Kincaid. I think we can get a good defensive lineman and a tackle in the second round. I don't think you're going to be able to find a tight end like Kincaid or Banks in the second round.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see what the grade we
Wow,
get. here
look,
is.
Cansey fell to Minnesota.
Yeah.
I love that. If that's how the draft, if that's how it ended up, I would love this.
And now
I would probably take Cansey just because you
And I
have,
think you,
you have
I think
less
you
picks to
still
play
give
with.
Banks the ability to not get rushed into the scheme too. He'll start, but he'll also have he can play nickelback too, and Jerry Jacobs can play on the outside, and you can kind of rotate them around. And honestly, CJ Gardner-Johnson can play a little bit of defensive back too. It's like a really solid group that you'd have there.
Absolutely. All right, let's do one more draft here. Let's do a 3-rounder, just so we can see what's going on.
Are we going to trade back here?
I think we could.
Let's say Carter and Anderson are off the board and we trade back.
Let's go here and see what happens. Yeah. Here's a Carter Falls one because I think again it's pretty split. For Seattle's guys on the odds, it's pretty much even between Carter and Wilson. So I think again this is much more likely of an outcome here.
Carter falls, but let's say we don't want Carter and we want to fleece a team that wants him.
I like that. The Eagles.
I think they want him. I think
you
based
could
on
do
what
this.
Dan said, they want him.
I think this would be an easy one. Let's see what the odds say. 620.
Give us 62 as well.
It's the odds right now. We would have to do something like this.
Give us 62.
Let me check the math. Looking at Philly, so 1,300. That's 1920.
I don't know if this seemed. I mean, I think this seems like
That
I don't
adds
know.
up. 55 and 6 adds up.
I think we
So-
could fleece Philadelphia way more if they really want Carter, though. We
Oh,
could probably
dude.
take
You think Howie Roseman's going to get fleeced? Oh, boy.
well,
he's
if
the-
they really want him, I could totally not see us giving up 55, giving them 6, and us taking 10, 30, and 62. No problem. What do you think?
No, it
Isaac?
would just be, I think it would just be 10 and 30.
10
You
and 30
do?
for 6
Come
and
on, David,
55.
that's a little rich.
All right,
3
10,
picks to
30,
move up
and
4
94.
4 picks? Come on, that's a little rich.
Nah.
For a
this is-
blue chip, and they're moving up 4 spots.
yeah.
I think you could swing 10 and 30, but I think it would be a tough sell. I'd be happy if they did this,
We use the
But at
chart.
the same-
We use the chart on this channel.
but at the same time, if Carter's there, I'm telling you, I think the Lions like him. I think they would just take him. I don't
We
think
use
they
the
would trade
periodic
back.
table on this channel.
Correct. So now you're at 10. And
See, now you kind of are just like, there's not really anyone where you're like, it's like
Here
it's
at
a
10,
fine.
I would take Cansey or I would take Witherspoon.
I would
wouldn't
take.
mind
I
Witherspoon
have
at
no
10.
problem with Witherspoon at 10.
Neither do I.
Eh.
Run it.
I'd rather just take Carter at 6.
Cansey.
Again, yes, I think Cansey's a no-brainer. And now you're
But
sitting
yeah,
at
if you
30.
don't draft an edge, if you don't draft a lineman,
I
with
think
the
30,
first
you're
one,
going to be able to get what's his face?
I think at 30,
Oh,
you,
did
go-
they take
you can get your biggest need.
Kincaid just when? Damn, they took him at 28.
I think you can
Who
get
took
your
wouldn't mind-
Bijan? Who took Bijan? Go up. Wow,
Oh,
Seattle.
pair him with the famous Wake Forest grad, Mr.
Hmm.
what do you
Where's the
mean?
big board at? Who's available here at 30?
You don't know the famous Wake Forest running back that plays for the Seahawks?
Oh yeah, Wake Forest, the guy who should have went to New York that year.
Michigan State running back.
No, he went
Kenneth
to
Walker
Wake
the
Forest. He went to Wake
Canine.
Forest.
There's going to be a couple of canines on the leash
But
this
yeah,
year, a
I
couple
think-
of Rottweilers.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I think if you're looking at 30,
sure.
your biggest need here.
Fully grown this year.
They've matured.
I I think your
I don't
biggest
know. Who do
need
you
here
take
would
here? Can
be
we see the big board?
linebacker.
Can we just
Yeah,
see
can
the
we see the big board?
Here's linebacker and tight end. I just think that this is probably the route you would want to go here.
What's
I
the
really
tight
don't. I'm
end?
not high on Laporta. I don't like him.
Because here's the
I
big
don't
board. You
not like
got,
him. I like Musgrave better.
yeah.
Big board. Ooh, hang
I
on.
think
Wait. Leave this up.
you think okay.
Henley. Um, Donald Forbes. No, we're not going to go.
'Cause here's
I
a
mean,
good-
here I think you can go so many routes. I wouldn't mind Josh Downs, honestly.
I agree too, but I think there's enough slot guys where you can get them a bit lower, or you can take a higher on like a Hyatt types guy. But if it's me,
Of
I'm
these
looking at
linebackers, I like Campbell and I like Henley.
yeah, I'm a big Campbell and Sanders guy personally.
I like Sanders too.
Yeah, the Alabama transfer over to Arkansas. He's a bit more of an inside linebacker, can rush if needed, edge to edge.
He's like the same size as Malcolm, isn't he? He's like 6
Yes.
feet, treading the line
Big
at
guy.
6 feet, quick.
Yeah, he's got a lot of
Campbell's a little
great
bit.
stats.
Campbell's a little bit bigger.
Yeah, but look at his. I mean, do you really need to use 30 on him? You might be able to get him at what's it called, the second round pick.
The linebackers will go quick. There's a lot of teams early second round that need linebackers. I think Sanders or Campbell, either one works for me. We'll just, for semantics, say Campbell because we both agree
Let's
on
just say Campbell because he's a different body type. He's a little bit bigger than Rodriguez.
it. Oh, Hendon Hooker just went. Hate to see that for our boys. In between there, Mozzie Smith, Drew Sanders, Cam Smith,
Where are we at?
Leon Hyatt,
48.
Josh Downs.
I wouldn't mind Steve Avila at 48.
I agree completely.
Or
Sure, it's a
Musgrave.
guard
I
position.
think we're aligned on this position.
One of the biggest guys.
Yeah.
Easy need. We'll go through here. We'll see who they our good friends that we traded down with. The Eagles took Matthew Bergeron, big tackle. Yep, helped out offensive line out. Zach Charbonnet, sneaky to the
Charbonnet,
Chiefs. That's a
63.
great pick. DJ Turner falls to the Raiders. Super fast guy going to the Raiders makes sense. Cedric Tillman, he's a guy to watch out for. Big bodied, 6'4", 6'5", vertical threat. Gives me a little AJ Brown vibes. Big. He'll be sliding up boards big time. And here at pick 81, I think it's just kind of it's not like a luxury pick, but it's just to go ahead and take what you need. You can reach down for one of the running backs if you want one here. I think this is the most acceptable time to take a running back would be about here. Or you look up, you can address the corner with Garrett Williams.
Who did we take in this one? Did we take
took
Witherspoon?
Deshaun, yeah.
We took
Mhm.
Witherspoon and we took Cansey.
Yep, you went Witherspoon, Cansey, Campbell, and Avila. So now here it's kind of like, all right, edge.
Kind of feel like you go skill position if you can.
Yeah, let me put
What are
that
the
down.
tight ends that are available in running back?
Tight end, wide receiver, running back, whoever there's
Let's see all
available.
of them.
Here's your main skill positions
would-
here. I'm not as high on A.T. Perry as a lot of people are. I have,
I like McBride.
Jaden Reed is
like
not
Jaden
bad. Keyshawn Boutte, he's an unbelievable talent. Just a lot of off the field concerns, a lot of work ethic things. Luke Schoonmaker, big body, tight end, would fit
Yeah.
in this scheme
I like
beautifully.
Schoonmaker too.
I
I like
I-
McBride, Schoonmaker, Reed.
Keandre Miller is a damn good running back. I mean, for the little bit he played against Michigan, he was
Miller,
dominating
too.
us.
He's solid.
But I think Schoon's a good pick here, so I have no problem taking him.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind Schoon. Address the tight end room.
I mean, you can see the let's see if we get a little grade here by PFF. They like our armchair GMing. But yeah, I think that
we did pretty good.
while we let it load, we can just chat a little bit. I think the overall sentiment is you can go defense at pick 6 pretty much no matter what, right? And then
Wow, they give us a D+ for Campbell.
they really undervalue linebackers.
Probably because of his average draft position was so much
No,
lower
I
than
also
we
don't
took him.
think they have linebacker as a need for the Lions, which is silly.
Yeah. So I think that this is obviously, I don't know if I agree with this order of the quarterbacks, but I think this is a pretty solid top 6 from what we've been hearing. I think Will Levis, I don't really see him going top 4. If he does, God bless.
I don't see us trading back, but if we do, I don't hate this.
Yeah.
I don't
I
think
think
it's
I'd rather us-
realistic. I think it's unrealistic.
I think it's more realistic we trade up than trade back, but in this scenario, if Brad does trade back and it something like that, like this does happen, I wouldn't hate it.
I'm telling you, if
You
Jalen
fill a lot
Carter's
of
on the board
needs.
at 6, the Lions are gonna take him. There's
So
no
if you're
way they're
sitting here
not.
at 6, what would you do, Isaac, in this situation?
I would, and now, so this is what I was just about to say was, if the Seahawks took Jalen Carter and you were staring at Tyree Wilson, I'm assuming the Lions don't like Tyree Wilson as much as Jalen Carter. I would trade back then at this point. In the previous draft, I would just take Jalen Carter because I think the Lions like him based on what Dan Campbell said. In this case, though, yeah, I guess you could trade back, but I don't know. Maybe they like Tyree Wilson just as much, and maybe they're willing to just take whoever falls to them.
I would
That's
imagine,
possible too.
I would imagine not personally, but we'll see here. I'll
What?
just,
That they like him the same amount?
yeah, we can just do a quick one right here where Jalen Carter is the pick. Let's see.
What do you mean where he's the pick?
Let's do this.
Yeah, I don't think the Lions will trade back unless Carter or Anderson are both off the boards as well.
Agreed.
I
If
do
one of them
agree.
are sitting
I
there,
do
they're
agree with.
taking them.
I do agree with that. Yeah,
They're going to take them.
but I think just for the premise of trading back, that's why we did that. Even though Carter was on the board,
Yeah, like
we were
imagine
just sort of we were just sort of pretending like
like the
he
Seahawks took
wasn't. You know what I
Carter.
mean? Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
And it was Tyree Wilson sitting there. In which, yeah, I agree because I think everyone's kind of aligned. Like, well, not everyone actually. I mean, Carter seems like he's becoming more polarizing. Like everyone seems to have an opinion on him. Either they think he's not going to pan out or he's going to be generational. Like everyone kind of has a side to it at this point. Um, but I don't know. I feel like most of the people I'm talking to are kind of like, yeah, I would take him if he's there.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
I mean, we're all kind of aligned. Like if he's sitting there at 6, you kind of have to take him,
and I'll just,
you know?
we have about 2 or so minutes left here. So I'll just do a quick 7-rounder.
Little outro.
Yep. No, we just do a quick little 7th-rounder here and we can look at quickly the Lions, who they could be getting super late and to see if there's any sneaky additions. As we've seen the last year,
Maybe a kicker.
a lot of those guys can really make some impact. So I'll just, auto draft basically until that point. And we'll get there quickly because, we'll see who could the Okuda replacement be if we're at that point. So Tuiopo, I actually do like a lot out of USC. As how bad that defense was, he was one of the best sack guys in the country. So watch out for him. Looking forward. And now here we go. We're gonna get into 152. I believe is the pick we got from them. It's via Jacksonville. So let's see here. Oh, it's 159. So you're looking at here. You've got a few guys left over. You've got some receivers. You've got Deuce Vaughn, running back out of Kansas State. Wouldn't mind him. Little Darren Sproles light, kind of a Swift replacement. I think would be kind of nice, like for like. Juice Scruggs, I would imagine he's going to go way earlier. Center is a premium position. A lot of teams need him. But if you're looking around here, there's a lot of, fringe guys down here. They could go Stetson Bennett or one of these other quarterbacks down here. We'll just auto draft basically just to kind of see who, potential guys you could see there. And then looking at the 6th-round picks, guys still on the board here. You got Jacob Slade, Spartan Dog, Stetson Bennett.
I think Slade's a dog.
Take Slade. Take
Aiden
the
O'Connell.
Rottweiler.
He's really been slipping. I mean, these are your late round quarterbacks. I wouldn't.
Is DTR there?
No, DTR went a bit earlier, but
wow.
He's apparently rising boards.
Yeah, these are some guys you got here. But
he's an athletic QB.
Yeah,
he can chuck the. I think he has a stronger arm than Richardson. As crazy as that sounds, Richardson hitting the ceiling stuff. DTR's got one of the stronger arms in this draft,
and he's yeah. I think it's definitely. I mean, it's close, dude.
Absolutely. But
if I were the Lions, I would rather draft DTR late in the draft than taking a risk on Richardson early.
Yeah, I think he might go like
some godforsaken reason they decide to. If for some godforsaken reason they decide to go quarterback, I just don't see why they would.
I don't think they will. I think it's off the table at this point.
Yeah. So thanks again to these guys for joining. We'll have a bit more, I think, maybe an emergency pod beforehand because I believe there'll be some trades. We'll get some instant reaction, things like that.
We're gonna be together on draft night too.
We will.
We got some big plans.
We will be in Detroit for at least day one. we'll be watching probably day 2 as well, because I think day 2 might be more interesting than day 1. That's my bold take. But yeah, just thank these guys for taking some times out of the busy schedule, hop on here and get introduced into the pod. But yeah, we'll see a lot more of these guys going forward too. Obviously, with a Michigan State and a Michigan guy, both of them, as of now, if you had asked me, exactly, Michigan will win the football championship and Michigan State will win basketball. So a lot of action
Yeah.
going on.
Oh,
Woodward will be absolutely clogged this year with all the championships, but we'll get a lot of coverage. Big summers, not the
It's
Tigers,
ring
but
season, baby. Angel
exactly.
Reese.
Some good Pistons fans on here too as well. So we will be sure to looking at
I
some
was gonna say
Pistons
maybe
stuff
we do a
too.
Pistons season recap.
Things like that. Hey,
We're going to be doing one of these for NBA draft night coming up too. 'Cause we're going to
Absolutely.
be together for the lottery. Once the lottery
Absolutely.
is figured itself out, we'll be in a good situation there.
Yeah.
But
So
thanks for having us, bro. I love it.
absolutely. And any closing remarks from you guys?
I loved it. I'm excited to be back on. I love talking sports, especially with you guys. And yeah, I had a good time. I hope the audience did too. And always drop Blake feedback and comments. I know he likes to improve the channel as much as he can. He loves what he's doing, and all the feedback is good feedback.
I mean, the amount of quality content that's being produced on this channel is remarkable. Astronomical and remarkable. I mean, you're doing what, a video a day?
At least usually that's the
At
kind of the
least.
goal.
I mean, he's blowing up our group chat with videos, and these are not like little.
That's how you
in-
penetrate into the algorithm. You gotta
Hey,
break the
in
surface.
addition to the shorts, when you get those live sporting event shorts he's got, he's really putting the work in, and it's great to be a part of it.
yeah. I was
I'm
joking.
super thankful he had me on, and even if we don't always agree on what we say, it's always great to just voice our
One
opinion.
pride, baby. That's what we're
Exactly.
on.
I like having as many people on as possible because I can sit here and be like, we're taking Jalen Carter at 3 and at 6. And then you can have someone come on here and have different opinions. And that's the whole point, because if you just listen to me over and over again, you get bored, you're not going to want to come on. But it is funny with the algorithm, I'll grind a video, a highlight video, chop it up, and it'll be like a 10-minute video with a bunch of highlights, and they'll get 5 or so views, and then we'll be a little sauced at the Wings game, record a live highlight, and they'll get 1,000 views in 15 minutes. So it's just funny how that all works. But
All works.
maybe moving forward, we'll take these podcasts and chop up the best bits and make them as little videos themselves, little shorts. I think that's the move what kids do nowadays.
You could do that with this. I mean, we
Yeah.
went like topic by topic. You could easily do that too.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah.
agree.
But yeah, well, I'll be sure to get some live reactions from these guys if there's any more moves, emergency pod on the weekend or something. But I do think there'll be a trade, not this weekend, but probably next weekend. There'll be a trade or two. So thank you again for watching. Please like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time. Peace.
See you guys. Peace.